Hi, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the cognitive functions and how they can be, in general, categorized into either masculine or feminine, kind of archetypal energies, for lack of a better word. And I've based this on how men and women have functioned in society and their roles and their behavior from hunter-gatherer civilizations and various other cultures around the world throughout history, and in modern times as well, the general tendencies of the roles that men and women have played and kind of what cognitive functions I think might be influencing those behaviors and roles. And I'm not saying that anybody who uses these cognitive functions is either a masculine or feminine person if that's not their gender. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there's kind of energies that most of the cognitive functions align with, either masculine or feminine. And there are a couple that I don't think are necessarily one way or the other strongly, but I'll get to that in a little while. But first I'm going to talk about, I think, the kind of more masculine energy functions. And the first one that came to mind is extroverted sensing. I think it's pretty obvious why I might think that and why that might be the case, because it's kind of interacting directly with the physical world in an often kind of forceful and physically strong way. And in the past, this is manifested in hunting, in prehistoric times when humans had to go after saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths. That's extroverted sensing, I think. And also leading a tribe. In more modern times, I think it can be described rather succinctly as Chad energy. And the other one that came to mind is extroverted thinking, and I also think that this is, to me, these were kind of the two strongest examples. And extroverted thinking is planning and executing projects and goals for a group. And I think that people who use extroverted thinking as one of their top two functions in particular, I think they understand that sometimes they have to be the bad guy in a situation or the enforcer. And they recognize that that's their role and it's almost their duty, essentially, and they don't feel bad about it like a high FE or high FI user might. So in the past, this would have been war planning and maintaining order within a kingdom or a village or whatever the situation was. A really good example that everybody will understand is Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen when he's directing people and criticizing them. And in regards to the intuition functions, these are two that I don't feel are particularly one way or the other very strongly, but I think that extroverted intuition is a more feminine function because it's not a precise function. It's kind of very flowy and curvy by nature, whereas introverted intuition is direct and precise most of the time, but it's not precise in the same way as a TE user would be. It's more in an abstract, removed. And that's why I kind of think that these two functions aren't necessarily one way or the other, is because but neither of them really deal with the direct physical reality. But if we think about architecture and the use of lines, if you have a building that's very angular and kind of just cold looking, for example, United Nations building, that's a masculine looking building. But then if you look at a playground structure, typically there's a lot of curved lines and rounded shapes and tubes and things like that, and that's a more feminine kind of nurturing environment. And there's reasons for that. So I think that those are kind of how I would view introverted and extroverted intuition. And for the feminine functions, obviously I think extroverted feeling is a more feminine leaning function. I think it's pretty clear why, because that's usually focused on caretaking and raising the family, and it plays a role in preparing food for the family and also in kind of the ritual of that in various cultures. And so in the past, it's been obviously preparing the food and especially in the past and still into modern times, supporting the male figure in the relationship and kind of following husband or another male leader and raising children. And I don't really have any factual or evidence to back this up, but I think that a lot of shamans and medicine men in the past were probably high FE and NI users because they were still recognized as leaders of a sort in the tribe, but they weren't the chief, There's a different energy about them. And in more modern times, I think teachers are a really good example of, and nurses and doctors and sometimes things like that. A good example of high FE. And I also think that SI relatedly, especially the combination of these two functions obviously work really well together to create a nurturing environment for the family and for the group. That's kind of their main focus, those two functions together. But SI is more focused on providing physical comfort for other people because that's what they're focused on. They like comfy clothes and they like to make other people comfortable and feel welcome, so they will bake them cookies or make them sweaters and things like this. And they also help to keep traditions alive in a culture because it's associated with memory, so they value that. And now they, I think, would help keep family activities organized on calendars, and they're often the quiet force running the show, and they don't necessarily want a whole bunch of recognition and praise. They just want to be appreciated by the people that they're close to and that they're doing it for. They don't want all the accolades for it. And the two functions that I think are a little bit more of a gray area are introverted thinking and introverted feeling, because they're more, I think they're the most personal functions in a way, because introverted feeling is all about what a person has figured out for themselves is good and bad and their own morals, and it's not derived from an outside source. And introverted thinking is the same thing, except for their own internal logical structures and how they view the world. So they're the most personal ones, so I think that they're not necessarily really masculine or feminine. So yeah, that's kind of a short overview because I don't want to make this video super long. But in general, I think that the cognitive functions can be categorized as either masculine or feminine, and this makes sense because many things in the world exist in a duality. There's night and day, there's life and death, health and sickness, male and female. So, and even our brains, it's divided into two hemispheres. And I think that there's a reason for this, and they complement each other, and you need both parts to make a whole. And so that's kind of what inspired me to think about this and to make this video. And again, I'm not saying that anybody who uses these particular functions is either a masculine or feminine person just because of that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying the overall energies that each of these functions have. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. If you think I'm just talking a bunch of nonsense, I would like to hear about that too. So yeah, thank you for watching again, and I hope that you are having a great day.